As severe floods continue to ravage parts of Brazil, authorities have reported that more than 23 people have been killed in the southeast of the country. Recovery efforts were underway in the city of Mimoso do Sul. A total of 15 deaths were registered in Espirito, Santo. Now, this includes 13 in Mimoso do Sul. Also, at least 8 have been killed in the neighboring state of Rio de Janeiro. Now, this is according to the state's civil defense authorities. Besides, at least 6 people are still missing, and more than 7,000 people were forced to flee their homes in Espirito Santo. A heavy rain caused a major river in the flooded region to overflow, sending water and mud through the city's streets. Aerial footage showed the extent of the damage.
We have had the loss of people's lives. The situation here is chaotic. Mimoso has never been through this before.
Now, according to the latest weather forecasts, there are warnings of heavy rainfall today. The region may see isolated showers and storms where the rainfall can potentially reach up to 50 millimeters or 2 inches. Through the midweek, central Brazil may see increased chances of rain and fresh floods. Daily rainfall might approach 100 millimeters, around 4 inches that is, in a single day. Rescue operations are underway in the flooded regions and residents have been advised caution while stepping outdoors. Now, the spring season has officially made its entry, but millions of Americans are still reeling under severe winter weather. The U.S. is bracing for a major snowstorm that is set to sweep the country. The major cross-country storm will hammer the heartland with blizzard conditions. From California to Michigan, 16 states are under winter alerts, spanning over 2,250 kilometers. The storm is expected to last till Tuesday. Now, with the possibility of freezing rain and sleet. 6 to 12 inches of snow is predicted from northwest Kansas to the upper peninsula of Michigan. Some locations will face up to 2 feet of heavy snow. According to the National Weather Service, a dangerous combination of 2 inches per hour of snowfall and 96 km per hour of wind gusts are possible. Now, the same storm system will also spark heavy rain and severe weather concerns across the southern plains and southeast over the next 2 days. Moreover, localized flash flooding could occur across the south in Missouri, Arkansas, Mississippi and Alabama. Rainfall is predicted on Tuesday to range between 1 and 3 inches. Well, now let's tap into a sticky situation that's leaving a sour taste in Canada's maple syrup industry. The production of the much-loved pancake topping has plummeted to a 5-year low. Canada's maple syrup, a staple at breakfast tables, is a large part of the world, and it is facing an unprecedented crisis. New figures from Statistics Canada have revealed a steep decline in production. This with numbers falling from a record high of 79 million litres in 2022 to just over 47 million litres this year. In Quebec, the heart of Canada's syrup production, the strategic reserve is feeling the squeeze. Currently, it holds just 6.9 million pounds of syrup, a fraction of its 133 million pound capacity. Now, this downturn comes despite a surge in demand that's been sweetening since the pandemic began. Even though the nation is not panicking yet, these consecutive warm winters and constant high demand have become a reason for concern. The authorities have been working hard to prevent a price spike that could heavily burden the consumers. Now, Quebec isn't sitting idle either. The province has launched a campaign to distribute an additional 7 million taps across its forests by April of 2026. This with the aim of bolstering production and ensuring that the liquid flows freely. However, this is not the first syrup shortage that Quebec has faced. In 2021, the province released £50 million from its reserve to meet soaring demands, a demand that had jumped 20% in 2020 as COVID-19 kept people home. However, authorities in Quebec are keeping a close eye on those maple trees, hoping for a cold snap to ensure that the 2024 season is as sweet as it can be. Well, let's now shift our focus to the East African nation of Malawi, where more than half of the nation has been declared a disaster zone. Now, this comes following El Nino-led dry spells that had left 23 of the nation's 28 districts with little or no harvest altogether. The nation, as the authorities are calling it, is now under a drought crisis. The preliminary assessment by the government found about 44% of Malawi's corn crop had failed or had been affected, and 2 million households were directly hit hard by this. Calling on the international community for help, Malawi's president said that his country needs about 600,000 tons of food aid. The announcement by the Malawian president coincided with the food distribution exercise in the southern Nino district by the World Food Programme together with the Department of Disaster Management Affairs. The district has nearly 7,000 households on the programme. Of the 23 districts that had been declared disaster areas, 13 had been struck by Cyclone Freddy in March of 2023.
The food that we have seen we are distributing today is for the season that we are in. But there is an additional type of hunger that we are facing because of the dry spell that we have experienced. For Nino, it has been hit hard. So the president's declaration means other people are going to come in now, lifting up the hand of government where it wasn't necessarily able to do it. People are going to come because of that declaration.
Malawi has been repeatedly hit by weather extremes in recent years. This underscores how some of the world's poorest and most vulnerable countries are feeling the worst effects of climate change, even as they contribute the least to global emissions. The European Union's flagship program to repair damaged nature is now in jeopardy. A vote to approve the legislation on Monday was cancelled because Hungary withdrew its support for the measure. This split over nature policy comes as the latest blow to EU's green agenda. Our next report gets you more on this.
The European Union's flagship policy to restore damaged nature is hanging in the balance. A vote to pass the law on Monday was cancelled after Hungary withdrew its support for the bill. Hungary's announcement wiped out the already slim reinforced majority of countries in favour. The nature law is the latest EU environmental policy to come under fire as policymakers try to respond to months of angry farmers' protests over complaints, including strict green EU regulations. In attempts to quell these protests, the EU has already weakened numerous green rules. Hungary's Environment Secretary Anikő Rais said the refusal to back the bill is not an opposition to protecting nature.
We would like to see realistic targets, because if we overburden the economy, it's going to backfire on the climate targets as well.
Some EU diplomats said Hungary's already large protected natural areas meant the country could comply with the content of the EU nature law and suggested Budapest's move was purely political. Environment ministers were due to discuss their next steps on the law on Monday afternoon, with some, including Spain's Teresa Ribera, warning against cancelling the policy.
I think this is a very, very important file. I think that Europe cannot afford killing its nature. It is so important to restore nature. It is not only because it is part of our legal obligations after the COP15 in Montreal, It is also because it provides life to our soils, to our ecosystems, and this has a very relevant economic and social value.
The law would be among the EU's biggest environmental policies, requiring countries to introduce measures restoring nature on a fifth of their land and sea by 2030. Its aim is to turn around the 81% of Europe's natural habitats that are classed as in poor condition. But the policy has faced backlash from some governments and lawmakers concerned about the burden on farmers and clashes with other industries.
Well, in our last story today on WION's Climate Tracker, let's talk about cherry trees. Well, cherry trees have begun blossoming in Munich's Olympic Park, much to the delight of visitors who made use of the start of spring to take pictures of the blooming trees. Visitors and trees alike were radiant in the beautiful Munich weather and with sunshine and blue skies. Our next report gets you some of these mesmerizing visuals from Munich. And when you come back, the other news and global updates will continue on the show.